can make a difference because you matter. You are created with purpose. Live your life with intention. Go out there and make a difference by being the difference. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ria Bendam from Final Year B Farm. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker, Dr. Sanjeevan Banerjee, today. Dr. Sanjeevan Banerjee is the co-founder and director of Apgenics Life Science Private Limited, a Pune-based biotech company working to develop antibody-based therapeutics for infectious diseases and cancer. Prior to setting up Apgenics, he worked in both the academic and industry in diverse areas such as drug target identification, antibody engineering, drug discovery, and business development nationally and internationally. He has a PhD in molecular biology from Institute of Microbial Technology, Chandigarh, India, and has done postdoctoral work in Center for Infectious Diseases Research and Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center, USA, where he identified a number of drugs targets for bacterial and parasitic diseases and developed biomarkers for cancers. In Apgenics, Dr. Banerjee directs a set of diverse research programs with the objective of developing novel biologics and delivery systems using diverse platforms such as antibody engineering, RNA interference, and probiotic mediated drug delivery. The core research focus is the control of bacterial infection and neglected diseases, like those caused by geohelminth parasites. The major research projects involve developing a new class of antibiotics consisting of bacteriolytic molecules based on heavy chain antibodies derived from camels to target hard to control multi-drug resistant bacteria. Now, I invite guest to today's function, Dr. Sanjeevan Banerjee, with a request to come up and begin with his session.
Thank you so much for the introduction. You have covered most of the aspects of what I have done so far. And so, what I will do is, I will take you briefly through the steps that I went through to establish these companies, the hurdles I faced, and how I overcome those hurdles. That is something very important because that is something you are not going to face in a running organization, in a running business, in a big pharma company, for example. But startup has their own challenges, and there are means of overcoming these challenges. So I assume this lecture is supposed to the objective of this lecture is to motivate into entrepreneurship and into taking up projects that are useful for the society. So there's a reason I've structured this talk around those lines. So let me share the screen first. So I have a, let me see. No, wait a minute. How can I share the screen here? Can you just help me? So there's an arrow which says open share tray. So that
the
I will
upward
click.
Direction arrow, you can click on
Yeah,
it.
so I have clicked that, and there's a screen share which says desktop/window. When I click on that, just a minute, window.
You can share it from the screen, sir.
Yeah, share the entire screen, but this is coming. Only your names are coming here. So the PowerPoint presentation that I have open here is not showing up. In this. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I think. Wait a minute. No, this is the screen I'm seeing. Only this is the screen I'm seeing.
Sir, when we click on that upward direction arrow now, there are two options, screen and windows, correct? So you just click on screen.
Stop sharing. Okay. Open share tray, it says screen share desktop/window. And so desktop,
Yes. Under
yeah,
now, sir, if you could click on the space where which is given under the screen, so it will be automatically shared with all of us, sir.
I can't
Just
see the PowerPoint that I've opened in my. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, just a minute. Yeah. Now, can you see the PowerPoint?
not yet, sir.
No. Yeah. Share. So why is it not coming? Window.
Under the name screen, there is one
No, it's not coming.
not coming.
Okay. So can you see the screen which says VZPRMKAG? Open share tray. Open share tray and. No, that screen is not showing. Why is it not showing? I don't know what to do. Can you see anything?
No, sir, not yet. Sir, have you noticed those two options, screen and windows? They are beside each other.
Yes, Windows.
Yeah.
Okay, Windows.
So you
So
just click on the space which is given below the screen.
below the.
Screen, the below word screen, there is a small screen which is in front of you. You just click on that.
Okay.
Yes.
Here. So see what you are seeing now. So
Yes,
this is
yes.
coming.
Now we can see, sir.
Now I
Now you
can't
will
see
have to
the
open the
PowerPoint.
presentation.
Huh?
Now you'll have to open the PPT, your
Okay.
presentation,
Okay. So PPT
and
is open.
yes. So
PPT is
yes, correct.
open.
Now you can put it on the slideshow mode, sir.
Slideshow mode. Okay. Slideshow mode. कर दिया. Okay. Can you see anything?
Uh, I think it is
No.
taking time, lag time, but
Yes,
yes,
sir. Now we
yes,
can
sir,
see.
we
Now
can
we can
see,
see
sir.
this.
Perfect.
You see the screen. The search for novel antibacterials, entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah,
Correct,
yeah.
correct, sir.
Yes, sir.
We
Yes, sir.
can
Oh,
very much
perfect.
see, sir.
Very good. So let me start. So my name is Dr. Sanjeevan Banerjee, and I run a small company called Abgenix Life Sciences in Pune. And like you mentioned in the introduction, I have a huge experience in working in various research projects. So I did my PhD from IMTech Chandigarh, and I worked on tuberculosis. I worked to identify some drug targets for tuberculosis. And immediately after that, I always had in my mind that I would like to start a biotech company. So I went for an MBA. I studied for an MBA from Calcutta, and then after that, I did my postdoctoral studies in the US. So I was there for 5 years, and I worked on parasites and cancers as well. So after doing that, in the US, is known as antibody important for those antibody formats are very different from regular antibodies. They have useful properties. And I was working there for some time, and then I realized that why should I spend my time doing it in the US when camels are available in India? So I came back to India and started this company. And the objective of this company is to develop novel antibacterials for AMR bacteria, drug-resistant bacteria, or superbugs. You must have heard of it. And superbugs are going to be a big problem in the coming years. You are seeing how COVID-19 is creating all sorts of difficulties for us. It's so difficult to manage, and COVID-19 is here to stay. It's not going to go very soon. And within the next 10 or 20 years, the superbug problem will be a huge problem. It cannot be controlled in hospitals. We see it nowadays, even like patients who are admitted to hospitals, they do not get cured very quickly. There are all these bacteria like Pseudomonas, Staphylococcus, Candida. No drugs act on them, particularly old people and immunocompromised people. And as a result of which, the hospital bills go up. And even if they are able to sort of control it, they eventually it takes their life. So superbugs are very important. They need to be controlled, and otherwise it's going to assume a pandemic proportion. So I realized this early on. So this company I'm running for about like 10 years now, and we are focused on developing molecules against superbugs. So that is a separate topic. How I am doing, what are the technical aspects of it. But for today's talk, I'm going to give you a brief glimpse of what we are doing, and I will talk about my journey of entrepreneurship. Like, how did I set up the company? You know, how am I going to solve these problems? What am I doing to address this problem in an entrepreneurial fashion, as opposed to, like, I could have done this work working in some lab in some big company in a government lab. My approach there would have been different. But since I'm running this company and it's a startup, here the approach is very unique. So, can you see the next slide? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So now we need to discuss about what entrepreneurship really is. What do we mean by entrepreneurship? Like, how different is it from a business, for example, or how different is it from a job? So these are the three things you could possibly do. After you pass out of your courses, you can take up a job in some company, you can become an entrepreneur, or you take up a job in the government. So these are the three things you can do. But how is entrepreneurship different? What actually is entrepreneurship? So like the first point is that entrepreneurship is about developing, identifying a problem. So if you are an entrepreneur, you need to identify a problem, and then you need to solve that problem. To solve that problem, you need to build up an organization that is capable of solving that problem. So this is the difference between entrepreneurship and a job. If you're in a job, you will be given a problem to solve, and you will be given the resources and the organization structure to solve the problem. As an entrepreneur, you need to identify the problem, you need to build up an organization and solve that problem. So, like, a good example is, we all know about Elon Musk. He's one of the very popular entrepreneurs, very successful entrepreneurs. And see, what Elon Musk thought was, he identified 3 or 4 problems. He said, fossil fuels are going to run out. So I really need to do something about, electric cars, some alternative sources of, fossil fuels, when the fossil fuel runs out. So it was not that electric car technology was not present before Elon Musk came along. When I was in the US, I used to go to the car fairs and all, and I used to see so many cars. Electric technology was discovered and widely tested in the 1960s. But since fossil fuels were available, electrical technology did not take off, and it was just just there. Elon Musk came and changed everything. So Tesla is the biggest car manufacturer. They produce more cars than Toyota, and all that. You can study, do your own research, and find out how he changed this space. So how is it different from GM or Ford or something? So Elon Musk took a very different approach to solve this problem. He had the muscle power, he had the money power, and he was innovative. And so, he made this a success. So that is one of the examples. The other thing that Elon Musk thinks is, traveling between cities. Say you have to travel from here to Mumbai or something, and it takes a long time. Earlier it used to take 5 or 6 hours. Now it takes 3 to 4 hours. But he established a company called the Boring Company, where he has those high-speed pods underground or overground something, and they will take you there in a matter of minutes. So intercity transportation. So that is the problem he identified, and he is trying to solve that problem. We also know of SpaceX. How NASA had the monopoly of sending rockets to space, but Elon Musk broke it all. So he's using reusable launchers, all sorts of new things, because Elon Musk thinks that in the future we need to colonize the solar system. We are going to run out of people in like space in the Earth. So with that objective in mind, he is doing that. So what is common in all of them? All of these are disruptive ideas. So these are new ideas, and Elon Musk has thought of these ideas. He he has built up organizations to solve these problems in his own way. New organizations, new organization structure, new management techniques, new scientific ideas. So this is a perfect example of an entrepreneurial organization, organizations, and a perfect entrepreneur. So you have to identify the problem. You have to build up a structure which is different from what is pre-existing, and you need to have the ideas, the people, the money, and everything to execute it. One of the other examples that I can instantly think of is, like, say you book a cab by Ola or Uber. That is also one of the very good entrepreneurial projects. Uh, Earlier, it used to be such a big problem to get a taxi. You have to bargain, you have to do so many things. So that is a problem. Like, you have to bargain, taxi has to be available, taxi will not come, you have to go to the taxi stand. So all sorts of problems were there. So what Ola and Uber did was they made an app-based booking system, and so this is a whole new concept. The company does not have any taxis or any cabs. It just has an app. And with the app, what happened ultimately is, your experience in booking the cab, in interacting with people, became much more pleasant. You did not have to argue with people. You get a good behavior from the cab driver. You give him ratings, he gives you ratings. So the whole scenario of booking cabs has changed because of Ola. So again, there's an app, there's an organization, there's a whole system. It is a part of the macroeconomic system now. So this is another example of what an entrepreneurship is supposed to be. Now you could say, to be an entrepreneur, like, an entrepreneurial organization will affect the lives of a large number of people. Now you could compare it to a writer or a painter or something, because they are also doing original things, but then they are not strictly not entrepreneurial, as they do not have an organization to implement their ideas. If a writer or a poet or a scientist or a painter develops an organization and a unique way of running that organization to achieve his objectives, then he becomes an entrepreneur. So same is true for scientists. There are a lot of scientists who work in lots of companies and lots of labs in the government sector and in the private sector. They are not entrepreneurs because they fit into that system, they fit into that organization structure and work. So one of the examples, since you are pharmacy students, one of the quick examples I would like to point out to it is, like, there are companies like Torrent, Lupin, Ranbaxy. Ranbaxy is not there anymore. Sun Pharma and all. So these companies were never entrepreneurial. Like, they started with drug distribution, then they went to APIs, then they went to formulation, followed by R&D activities. So no new drugs have come out of India in any time. Like, I don't remember any drug that has been discovered in India. Why? Because all the drug companies were not entrepreneurial. Their objective was to run a company, make profits, and with the money they made from the profits, they would give some money for R&D activities, which is probably, and since the entrepreneurial culture is not there in those organizations, no new molecules have come up. So no new drugs have come up. So this is entrepreneurship as far as the pharmaceutical companies are concerned. Now, once you become an entrepreneur, what happens is, after a few years, your company will turn into a business organization, which means your ideas will find traction in the market, and you will eventually develop products that is going to serve the market. At that stage, the entrepreneurial nature of your company might stop. You might go into business. Suppose you develop a diagnostic kit for COVID-19. Okay, you develop a new technology to develop a diagnostic kit for COVID-19. Or maybe you make a molecule that can neutralize the COVID virus and all. Then, you have to really make it successful, you really have to convert it into a business, and you need to have that, or you need to move from the entrepreneurial mode of activity to the business mode of activity. In such cases, what happens is, people who are really creative, they become what is known as serial entrepreneurs. They move into the next stage of they move into a next project or any other project that is different from the previous project that requires a lot of their inputs. So this is what entrepreneurship is all about. So it's very important to understand this, and if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to have these qualities, and you need to have this structural. You need to organize the structures around these ideas. Okay. So what are the traits of an entrepreneur? So this is a very important point. All of us cannot become entrepreneurs. It is not desirable for all of us to become entrepreneurs. There will be few entrepreneurs, and there will be a lot of people who will support those entrepreneurs. They will work in those companies, and they will try to implement the ideas of the entrepreneurs. So the entrepreneur is not. It's a sort of a lifestyle. Most of us are used to a settled job lifestyle. Like we have seen our parents, they used to have a job. Most of our parents, and there would be a fixed salary. At the end of the day, there will be a salary. There will be a retirement age. So there's a predictable life. We are used to living a predictable life. Lot of us are going to do that anyway. So that is fine. And but what are the qualities you need to have in you to become an entrepreneur? So first of all, like I told you, you need to have a good idea. You need to have a strategic vision. You need to have a lot of experience. You need to have a lot of wisdom, and you need to identify something that is strategic, that is going to change the society, and you need to have capabilities to build up an organization that will solve the problem. So along with that, you need to get rid of the feeling of complacency that comes with certainty of a job. So your income might not be very regular in the earlier stages of your entrepreneurial journey. There might not be good social acceptance also. People might say, what is he doing? I mean, like if you work in a big company, people will immediately identify what you are doing. Okay, you're working in Biocon or Pfizer or something. Okay, very good. People know what you are doing. But as an entrepreneur, people will not know what you are doing. So the social acceptance might not be there. You should have the capacity to work alone for most of the time, because you need to develop the ideas and you need to implement the ideas. So in a company, you would work in a group. There will be team meetings and there will be management games and all these sort of things. But as an entrepreneur, you need to work alone. You need to give up your requirement for seeking appreciation in the form of rewards. You might not be rewarded for your activities initially, which is fine. You should accept that. And the other critical part is you need to know how to deal with people. This is very, very important part of as an entrepreneur. Like your technical skills or your intelligence in developing whatever you're developing will succeed only if you have the ability to work with people. So I have seen this, like in a job, that is not important. In a government job, that is even not important. Like you can have do some bad behavior with people. You might not be emotionally mature to handle the people, but still you can retain your job. But as an entrepreneur, if that happens, then you are going to fail in the first instance. So what is important is you need to be mature. You need to have a high emotional quotient. You need to be polite. You need to earn the respect of the people. You also need to exert power, not in a tyrannical sort of way, but people should respect you. Like people who you work with should respect you, so that they do what you're saying. So this is a very important thing about being an entrepreneur. And another thing I've seen while working in India, I've worked in the US as well. We have seen that there are, in India we are divided into communities. Like for example, people in your institute will predominantly be Maharashtrians. So there will be people from South India. And I've seen in the higher levels, people have difficulty working together. People of different communities cannot work together. And so these biases have to be overcome. Like I have seen in a lot of instances, like I'm working with 2 or 3 people, and one person suddenly says, if you're working with that person, you are not working with me. This is straight away. People say that. I have seen that, and then I have to take a decision. Like not to work with that person because it does not look like it's a very good way of looking. Like that person is not mature. So these sort of things are very important. You need to understand cultures, and how do you understand cultures? A good way to do would be to watch regional movies, or maybe if you are familiar with the literature, you can read regional literature. So you need to understand people from various parts of India. What are their motivation? Why are they working with you? Sorry. Yeah.
Jyoti, please switch off your mic.
Yeah, I think some of your mics are on. Okay, that is important. That's a very important point, and you need to take up responsibilities for your decision and be prepared for the consequences. You cannot blame anyone. In a job, you can blame your boss. Most of the times, you are unhappy. Boss is doing something, this, that. So here, the buck stops with you. You cannot blame anyone. So you need to be responsible, and you need to take decisions yourself and be prepared for their consequences. And you also need to be a part. You need to, like I told you need to understand people. You need to work with people with complementary skills. You need to manage them, and you also need to be firm with them. You need to be respected as well. So all this sort of um, uh, you know uh, qualities you need to have. So now with that background, I'll tell you about our history, what we have been doing for the past 10 years, and let us analyze what we have done in terms of whatever I have said right now. So do we fit the bill? Like, are we an entrepreneurial organization, or are we a business organization? What are we? So we started in 2010 in NCL Innovation Park. So to develop antibiotic replacement solutions using a combination of antibodies and probiotics. In 2012, we developed the first product, the anti-salmonella antibody probiotic. We were approached by a big pharma company who funded a part of the project. In 2014, we got a $100,000 grant to develop human antiparasitic solutions. Like I told you, I worked in antiparasitics in the US. So we got a project. This is the first project we got, a very prestigious project, Gates Foundation grant. And we also started developing antibodies for pharma companies. So these two things we did around 2014. During that time, we were developing our anti-infectives platform technologies that I'm going to come later in the next slides. So in 2016, we got a BIRAC grant. That's a Government of India grant for 1 crore develop AMR solutions against Pseudomonas and Staphylococcus. In 2018, we again got a second Gates Foundation grant. That's again around $100,000 for development of rapid diagnostic kit for detection of neonatal sepsis. And in 2020, we have developed the proof of concept for the antibody drug conjugate called aptids. We have filed 5 or 6 patents, and we also got a NIAID funding, which is a US government funding for in vivo studies of the Pseudomonas molecules. So this is how we have progressed. We didn't have a lot of money. We just started, and gradually we kept developing technologies, and we started getting grants. The next stage would be to get a bigger grant, maybe $3-4 million, where we can test these molecules. We can do preclinical studies for these molecules, or the clinical studies for these molecules. So is Apgenix an entrepreneurial organization? So that is what we are going to evaluate during the course of this talk. So how are we entrepreneurial? I think these are the qualities which make us entrepreneurial. I might be wrong, or I might miss a few points. You can add your own points. So first is that we have a long-term vision about the pressing healthcare need, and we have developed knowledge and infrastructure to address this. We have a company We have funding, we have employees, we have patents, we publish papers. So we have done all these things. And what is the vision? To treat drug-resistant superbugs. We have the capability to work on multiple interlinked technology areas. Like you saw in the presentation, we worked on probiotics first, we worked on hookworms, then we are working, that is the core technology now, anti-infectives. We are also working on diagnostics. So we are working in multiple areas, and it is very important to work on multiple areas. I have seen a lot of small companies that call themselves entrepreneurial. They will work on one technology. They will get some grant from the government to develop one maybe diagnostic kit for tuberculosis or something for 1.5 years. In 1.5 years, they will not succeed, and government will stop the funding, and the company is going to close. It's not going to close. They are going to rethink what they have to do. So the important thing is you need to work on multiple areas. You need to have multiple skills, because it is not that the first project you are going to take up is going to succeed. It might not succeed. So you need to have a backup plan, centered around the first technology you're working with. So what is the backup plan? So if you are working on anti-infectives, can those antibodies be used to develop diagnostics? So that is the plan. If that doesn't work, then there should be another plan. So it's very important for the main co-founder or the main founder of the company to have a lot of ideas around which the company can run for 5 or 10 years. So that is very important. Do not start a company with just one idea, because in most cases it's going to fail. So that is the point I mentioned. You need to be optimally funded to run the baseline day-to-day operations. You need to have some funding in terms of your own personal funds or funds from an investor. And you are not going to get $1 million grant in day one. That's not going to happen. You might get small amounts of money. That money might run out after a few years. So what happens when you run out of money and you're in the process of getting the next round of money? So you need to be planning that way. So there needs to be some sort of money so that you can run the company for 5 to 6 years minimum. Only then you are going to succeed. If you have money for 1 year and you cannot get money for the next year, then you're not going to succeed. So that way, we believe we are an entrepreneurial organization, and it's a learning process for all of us. But these are the core components which make us a running organization. So this is a little bit about the technology that we are developing. So why we are so confident of what we are doing? So you can see this bar graph below. So that's in the year 2050, how many people are going to be killed by AMR, antimicrobial resistance. So that figure is 10 million. Okay, and during that year, so this is from a Nature paper, by the way. It's a very authentic figure. By the year 2050. Cancer will kill 8.2 million people, diabetes and all, you can see those figures. So right now the orange bars show the current figures. So right now cancer is killing 8.2 million, AMR is killing 700,000 people, maybe 100,000 now. But by the year 2050, this figure is going to rise tremendously. Now there's a reason for that. Like why am I saying that this will, or why is everybody saying that this is going to happen? That's because the population of the world is rising at an alarming rate. Now the population of the world is around 7.8 billion people, 7.9, close to 8 billion by 2050, and the capacity of the earth to sustain the human population will be around, let's say, 9 to 9.5 billion, not more than that. So after the population reaches 9 to 9.5 billion, the population will reduce naturally. So how is the population reduced? So there are a number of ways. There can be a pandemic. We are going through the pandemic. COVID has already killed 5 million people. So that's a lot of people. But population-wise, that's not much. There might be wars. You can see, we are all preparing for war. India is, buying all those missiles and aircraft, everything from everywhere. China is doing something. US is doing something. So war might come, or there might be a something called a famine, where there might be food scarcity. So you can see in places like North Korea and China, there was food scarcity, food scarcity. So we have to keep all these things in mind. And one of the ways in which the surest way to reduce population is by a pandemic. And there is prediction of an AMR pandemic by 2050, by 2035 or 40, I would say. And so we need to be prepared for that. If you're not prepared for that, a lot of people are going to get killed, and there's nothing we can do. So this is the reason why we got into the AMR research. Other than the fact that I had experience in that and I had a lot of motivation to work in that area. So but then there are other reasons why AMR pandemic is going to be a big problem. So now you will see like a lot of funding is available for superbugs. A lot of big organizations have come together. World Health Organization, CDC. A lot of grants are available from various governments to tackle the problem of antimicrobial resistance. So people are developing small molecules, antibodies, vaccines, and things like that to control the AMR problem. So on the right panel, you can see how, what is the approach we are taking. So on the top panel, you can see something called antibiotics. So the moment antibiotics are discovered, within 5 to 6 years, you will get a resistance to that antibiotic. And in some antibiotics, like fluoroquinolones and all, the resistance happened so quickly that it was unbelievable. Within 10 years, the bugs became resistant to the drug. As opposed to that, if you look at the lower panel, which shows vaccines when developed can last for hundreds of years. Like the earliest vaccines like diphtheria, DPT and all, they're still there. They were invented in the 1920s. Of course, there are people have made, modifications. They keep on improving the vaccines, but the life cycle of vaccine is much higher than the life cycle of a small molecule antibiotic. Now, so why is that? That is because vaccines have a complex mode of action. They elicit immune response, as well as the molecules of vaccine are very complex, and bacteria cannot really become resistant to vaccine so easily. Say, for example, fluoroquinolone. I was talking about fluoroquinolone. So the moment bacteria encounters fluoroquinolone, they will make mutation in the DNA guidase gene. They will start the efflux pump, and they will throw a bunch of resistance inducing mechanisms, and they are going to become resistant very soon. However, vaccines, that does not happen. So we thought, how can we develop antibiotics with a longer effective life? So we decided, let us make some antibiotics from from antibodies, similar sort of molecules that are used for vaccines. And so what we did was, just a minute. So we came up with this technology. So on the left hand side, you can see what an antibody is like. In the A, you all are familiar with the antibody. So there are two light chains there. And it's a very complex molecule. It's very difficult to use a biofermenter. You have to use cell culture. Temperature, everything has to be regulated. pH, everything has to be regulated. That is how biosimilars get made. Camels have an antibody called single chain antibody, which is known as a VHH. In the right, we take a small part, which is a red brown on the right. So you can see the size of the molecule is reduced by tenfold. Antibody is 150 kilodaltons. The camelid antibody is 15 kilodaltons. So what we do is we take this molecule. We take these molecules that neutralize various pathogens. For example, Candida on the right. So that's an example. We have also developed these molecules for cancer. We have also developed these molecules for viruses. We are developing these molecules for COVID neutralization. So a bunch of things we are doing with these molecules. One of the things we have done in the panel B is known as aptics. So we have taken this molecule and attached it to an antimicrobial peptide. So these molecules are known as aptics. They are expressed in the system, and you can easily express it in E. coli. And and on the right hand side, you can see how effective these molecules. This figure shows the construction and mechanism of action of the aptic molecule. Panel A. Sorry. This figure. sorry. Okay. So on the right hand side, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So on the right hand side, you could see how this molecule works. It neutralizes the pathogen. It lyses the pathogen, and you get a clear solution. So we have the proof of concept for 3 pathogens: Pseudomonas, Staphylococcus, and Candida. So this is an example of how this molecule works. So on the top hand panel, you can see the antibody fragment. When we add increasing amounts of antibody fragment, there is neutralization of the Candida. But when we add the antibody and the antigen conjugate, not the antigen conjugate, the MIC reduces tremendously, and add 0.25 micromolar. And so these are very effective molecules which can neutralize drug resistant pathogens. So these molecules will neutralize drug resistant pathogens irrespective of their mechanism of resistance. So what we have done is, now this is the technology basically in a nutshell, but what we have done is, since we are running a company, we have developed these molecules against all these bacteria that you can see here. They are all the escape pathogens. There are a bunch of fungi, Candida, Malassezia, Trichophyton. There are some viruses which are not listed here, and of course we have done this for cancers also. So this is the asset base of the company. We have made libraries of these molecules, then we get the hits, then we do the assays, and we are advancing. So this is, you could call this our pipeline, a little dated, but we have advanced a lot of these molecules further. And so we take up one of these molecules and advance the pipeline. So this is what our business model is. It is a new class of molecule against superbugs. We have a bunch of libraries from which we will work for the next 20-30 years. We have developed these libraries, and we have shown proof of concept for these molecules. Along with it, like I told you, you need to have a backup plan. What if this molecule did not work? Like when I started this project, I was not confident, that I was not sure whether this will work or not. I guessed that this will work, but that might not work also. So in that case, what else did I do? I got another Gates Foundation grant for developing diagnostic assays using these antibodies. So normally you can do microbiology assays. It takes 3 to 5 days for getting the results. Basically, if you're trying to identify excuse me, some pathogen from the blood, it will take you like around 3-4 days. Molecular microbiology testing is a little faster, but what we are developing is, we are developing a rapid detection kit using camelid antibodies, where you can identify pathogens within 1 to 2 hours. So we are using new age materials like graphene oxide based fluorescence ELISA. We are also doing some chemi-resistive biosensors. So there are multiple approaches we are taking to identify very low amounts of blood pathogens from the blood of patients. So this is a technology that we call companion diagnostics for aptids. For example, if you have to use the aptid molecule will be very specific, since it is antibody based. How do you identify that pathogen? That is also a big problem. I've heard from doctors that they cannot properly identify the pathogen in spite of so many tests that are available. So using these antibodies, you can properly identify the pathogen very quickly, then apply the solution, that is our molecule, to take care of the drug-resistant bacteria. So this is, in a nutshell, our major technology. I have not talked about the other technologies that we have been working on. So, but this will give you an example. So why do we call Apgenix to be a business and not, it is not a business, but it is entrepreneurial, because we are developing a new solution to address an unmet technology, unmet need. So that's the that's the reason we are entrepreneurial. If we were in business, we would use an existing technology to implement solutions. Like we would probably buy some, typically what pharma companies do, they would go to Japan or the US and buy some molecule, the structure of the molecule, they would buy the patent, they will make the molecule here, and test it. Recently, you heard, Dr. Reddy's has developed a molecule for something, I forget, but then they got the molecule from somewhere in Japan. They developed this molecule, they did the preclinical trial, clinical trial, and now they're trying to sell the molecule. So that is business. As an entrepreneur, you're starting from zero. Okay. So the other thing is we are driven by a need to better the pre-existing problem. So this is what we have done. So the other thing is, now this is something very important. Like businesses will have a very clear structure. So they will have like you get into a pharma company as some research trainee or something, and gradually you will move up the organization. So it will have a very predefined structure. There will be a work culture. They might be bureaucratic in nature, but a entrepreneurial company will have a flat organization structure. We need to be very flexible. There should be no rigidity in our organization structure and the way we take the decisions. We take decisions very fast. Within 1 or 2 days, we take a decision. We can implement it. That might take months for a bigger company to develop. In addition to that, we work on collaborations. Collaborations are very important because you cannot have all the skills. So you can have some skills. The rest of the skills, have to be obtained from somewhere. So we need to collaborate. We cannot keep everything to our own. And there are we need to work on research technologies that are new. So there are basically two types of things you can do. Like if you want to set up an entrepreneurial organization right now, you could develop some existing technology. For example, you could develop diagnostic kits for something, or you can develop apps for something. So that is relatively easy to do. You can do it in 2 to 3 years. So that is one of the things. So you can better develop a technology which is already existing. The other thing you can do is you can work in areas where you can develop a new technology that will result in a paradigm shift. You can work on, like, for example, some examples nowadays are stem cell therapy, alternative energy. Maybe you can work on artificial organs, development of artificial organs and artificial tissue development, space exploration and all. So these are the technologies that entrepreneurs work on, and like they do not have a clear development pathway. They have to discover what they need to do as they move along. So this is what sets us apart from the other organizations. So now, what is our business model and target? What is the business model? It's important to understand the business model of an entrepreneurial organization. So we have a unique library of antibodies and hits. We identify the target. We develop platform technologies. So there are 3 platform technologies. The D is the diagnostics. We have the aptids technology, the antibody antimicrobial peptide conjugates, and we have the lactobacillus technology as well, which I have not discussed. So we have 3 platform technologies. We make clinic-ready hits, which means that we at least take the molecule to the in vivo proof of concept, and maybe even to the preclinical trials. And then what we try to do is we try to outlicense this technology, co-develop or outlicense this technology to bigger pharma company who have all the requirement, who have all the skills to develop this molecule further, and the money power to develop this molecule further. So if you start an entrepreneurial company, there are various stages. In the first 3 years, you have to work on your own. You have to develop the technology. You might get small amounts of funding from the government. In the next 3 to 5 years, you have to get what is known as the Series A funding. So it depends on the technology you are working on. If you are working on a very innovative technology like the aptids technology, venture capitalists would not like to fund this sort of project. So we have to get this funding from the government and international funding agencies. So there is Carbex, Wellcome Trust, BARDA, etc., etc. So they will fund up to $1 billion. And once that is successful, then you will go for funding for $5 to $7 million for clinical trial and test marketing. So that is how, and then by the year 7 to 10, your company is going to become a business. and in which case you have to think of new ideas if you are an entrepreneur. So the other thing I would like to, so this is the probably the last slide, and the other thing I would like to highlight is the entrepreneurial culture. I already discussed about the flat organization structure and non-bureaucratic structure of a entrepreneurial organization. So you have to scout for new opportunities. You need to have vision. You need to have persistence. So that is very important. You need to work on non-conventional therapies so that you can really contribute to the society in some way, and you need to be high on energy, low on hierarchy and bureaucracy. You cannot have any sense of entitlement. Like if you have worked for a company or something, like one of the examples I can say is when people come to work for us after they've worked in a big company or a government, they are reluctant to work on a Saturday. They think that acha Saturday ko is chutti, so like they get used to that habit, and then they are not successful here. So because we work 6 days a week, so you cannot be lazy, you cannot have a sense of entitlement. You cannot grumble about the salary you are getting, for example, because if you succeed, if the organization succeeds, your salary automatically increases. But to make the organization a success, you need to contribute wholeheartedly. Okay, so there should be no cultural baggage or bureaucratic insensitivity. I gave you an example. People from different communities cannot work with each other, so that should not be there. We need to protect our IP, and we need to promote exchange of ideas. And it's also very important to cultivate relationships with people and organizations. It's a very important work of an entrepreneur. You have to know a lot of people. You have to expand your circle, because if you run into a trouble, if you need some help, you need to know people with whom you can get help from, and you need to and those people are going to help you only if you maintain a good relationship with them. It's very important to do that. You cannot do that at the expense of relationships. It might work in government or big organizations. There might be politics. You might not talk to some person, but that is not going to help. You have to be very humble, humble, and very accommodating to the other person's view. So this is the last slide of this lecture. So management of money and finances are important. So you need to have some amount of money to sustain yourself first, because if you cannot run your life or your family, you cannot run the company. So you need to have some amount of money for 5 to 6 years. That is very, very important. And you can generate money. So we have generated a lot of money by contract research and developing anti-cancer molecules. So we are constantly getting funds. You have seen the amount of funds we have got. So that is one way of sustaining yourself. And we are looking for, like, as the technology matures, as the company matures, we're looking for bigger and bigger sources of funding. Like once we get that fund, then we can go for we can go forward for a few more years. And you need to have a proper strategic plan, and that strategic plan better be important. So in our case, the strategic plan is control of AMR for the reasons I explained to you. And so that is how we are going. And I guess, yeah, so that's all. So this talk basically gives you an idea of how an entrepreneurial organization is formed and how it is run, and what motivates us to do that, and what are the qualities we need to have, or we need to cultivate, so that we can run an entrepreneurial organization properly. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I can take the questions now.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a very fantastic talk, and you cover almost all aspects, like right from the technical one, and then last couple of slides. I think those are most important slide you talked on about the management of funds, as well as what is the entrepreneur culture. So that was really wonderful to know. In fact, this we have heard first time all those culture of entrepreneurship as well as the fund management. So thank you very much, sir. If any students have question, can please go ahead. Is anybody want to ask something? I guess nobody is raising their hands. But Dr. Banerjee,
Yeah.
on behalf of my students, because all the majority of our informed students are listening to this session. So as you said, you have a hit library as well as antibody, antibody library, and then you go for the uh, this identification of target, right?
Yeah.
I think somebody's camera is switched on. Yes, yes, yeah, okay, yeah. So, and then target identification happens. So,
Yeah.
sir, we would like to know how this target identification, I mean, how you proceed for that,
Okay.
and
So
is
this
there
is
any
a this is,
criteria?
no,
Yeah,
no. This is a, see. I'll tell you. So this is a technical question. So
right.
the thing is, see, there are two things I'll tell you about the business. Suppose you're working with cancer antibodies, and you develop a antibody against a known target. Let's say VEGF or something.
Right.
And then like if you take a camelid antibody, if you take an antibody against VEGF and try to show it to people, they will ask what is the target. So you say it is VEGF, and they will say, "Arey, ye target to purana target hai." Like everybody knows of this target. So the trick
Hmm.
is you need to identify a new target. Now, how do we do that? So how we do that is we identify an antibody that neutralizes a pathogen or neutralizes a cancer cell. Okay, we
Hmm.
do it by simple in vitro assay. After doing that, we identify the target by immunoprecipitation and LCMS. We do mass spectrometry and identify the target. And often we identify targets that have not been previously characterized, in which case these molecules become very important. The antibodies become very important because you have an antibody against a target that nobody has identified, that is neutralizing the cancer cell or that is neutralizing the bacteria. So that is probably one of the ways in which you can increase the value of the company. You could identify targets two ways. You get a target from the literature, make the antigen, make the antibody, and then use and show that it is neutralizing. That is one way. The other is you take an unknown target, neutralize the bacteria or whatever, and then identify on which component of the bacteria this is binding. So that becomes an, if you are lucky, you might get a target which is novel and the value of the molecule increases tremendously.
Okay, okay. That's
Yeah.
great, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for that answer. Okay. I think anybody is having question from students. Okay, it seems they are not having any questions. So we'll proceed. Ria, over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for taking time from your busy schedule to be the guest speaker at our seminar. It was a great pleasure to listen to your wise words and learn so much from it. I take this opportunity to thank you on behalf of our entire administration and students who were captivated by your talk.
Okay. Thank you so
It
much.
gave me a great honor to propose the vote of thanks. Firstly, I would like to thank Honorable Professor Sir M.N. Navle Sir, Dr. Sunanda Navle Ma'am, Dr. Rohit Navle Sir, Professor S.N. Navle Sir, STES. Heartfelt gratitude to Dr. S.T. Sawant Sir, Principal SKN COP for his supervision, and Dr. Neha Munot Ma'am, Convener, Institutional Innovation Council. Constant encouragement to participate in such activities. I do want to thank all the teaching and non-teaching staff for their participation in today's session. Special thanks to our faculty coordinator, Dr. Vishal Jhamre sir. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Ria. And Dr. Banerjee, I truly express my gratitude to you, sir, for accepting our invitation in spite of your busy schedule, sir. and your words of motivating about innovation made the event more memorable for us. And in fact, our principal sir, Dr. S.D. Sawant sir, Sanjay Sawant sir, was eager to attend this session, but he had some meetings on the same time, so he could not. But he asked me to convey his thank you to you. So thank you very much, sir, for that. And
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
yes, yes. So thank you very much. And last but not the least, the special thanks goes to Miss Ria also, because she has wonderfully done her job. And thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Yeah, yeah. And before we end this meeting, there is one another event. Dr. Banerjee, if you could permit us, if I have some announcement to make
Okay.
under this ISE activity.
So do I need to be present or can I leave?
Uh, yes, I mean, we have
You,
done with the
yeah.
lecture.
So
So,
please
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
continue. Please
Yes,
continue.
sir.
I'll leave. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, yes,
Bye.
yes. Thank you very much, sir. I'll
Yes.
be in
Yes.
touch with you. Yes, yes,
Very
later.
good. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Bye. Dr. Neha, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. See, on 25th of this November, we have one event. Neha, ma'am, do you have the name of that event in front of you? I think it is the competition ideation to entrepreneurship, I2E like competition, and there are very less number of entries have been received. So we request everybody, every students, whatever idea you have, whether it is at the beginning stage, you please come up with the ideas and fill up that the registration for the same. Neha, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Samrit, sir.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
Ria.
The
Yes.
name
All
is
of,
that only, na? Ideation to an entrepreneurship.
yes. Ideation
Yes.
to enterprise.
Okay, enterprise.
Okay, so it is scheduled on 25th. And see, it can be any idea. It can be pharma, non-pharma, any idea. And it can be at any level. Like it can be just a crude idea. But